The Alarm NBA DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We got 7 games here on a Wednesday. I appreciate you all tuning in yesterday with our guy Terrell making his NBA Playbook DFS show debut. He and James obviously did a great job in my absence, but I'm here. I had no power yesterday. I have power today, at least, to help you guys talk through this 7-game main slate. Obviously, as when we come closer to roster lock, there's a lot of injury news that tends to break out. We're also on the eve of the NBA trade deadline. We've already seen a couple of trades come through here tonight, so there's going to be plenty of news to pay attention to. We did just get word right before we went live that Drew Holiday is going to be out tonight for the Boston Celtics, so that's just one of many names that we are looking to get some clarity on. Tyrese Maxey was the midday downgrade today, popping up in the injury report. So a lot of stuff. Dylan Clemens already has the playbook out for all of you. He'll be in the Discord and updating that as the news breaks for tonight. James, my guy, how we doing?
Doing well. Definitely some notable stuff that's happened. DeJounte Murray, a day before the trade deadline's downgraded. Maxey's not at shoot around. That illness has seemingly just raged on through the entire Philadelphia roster. They're seemingly all questionable or are just getting over the illness. Obviously, the Drew Holiday news just broke. The Pistons have made 2 trades today. They don't play until 10 p.m. How many more trades do they make beforehand? So there's a lot going on. Some Miami Heat injury news in the middle of the day. So fun slate to break down, considering, every team you look at. Well, Washington, everyone on Washington is available.
Yeah.
Toronto, Bruce Brown's obviously like the elephant in the room there. Charlotte can always be a part of trades with Gordon Hayward expected to return.
Yeah.
He'd obviously be a pretty good get for somebody if they can contractually make it work. We've seen Boston make a trade already today. Atlanta is obviously one of the hot commodities. What does Golden State do? Does Klay Thompson just stay in Philadelphia after the game? There's a lot of teams on this slate that are potentially going to be involved in trades. So we're going to have to stay hip to the news as Shams and Woj breaks it throughout the day and throughout tomorrow as well.
Yep, 100% here. When it goes over some of these matchups for today, again, taking a look at spreads and top totals. Cleveland, Washington at home, getting 11.5, 234.5 game total there. Raptors, Hornets are getting 7.5, 226 game total in that one. Golden State versus Philadelphia now getting 5 in this game, I imagine, due to the Tyrese Maxey midday injury update there. The illness, 235.5 game total in that one. Atlanta versus Boston giving 12 at home, a 244 total. San Antonio, Miami giving 8 in the 227 total there. Pelicans, Clippers are giving 6.5 at home, 231.5 total there. And then our late night game, Sacramento's giving 13.5 to the Pistons, 242 total.
I tweeted like a little while ago about that line movement. I'm fully expecting Tyrese Maxey not to play tonight. And that we don't even know. I mean, they also listed Daniel House. They also listed Marcus Morris all in their injury report, alongside of Embiid, Melton, Batum, Covington, and who knows how many minutes Paul Reed's even going to play. He said he's feeling better. They talked to him, the media. He did media this morning, and they talked to him. So it looks like he'll be like more available, but he's also battling that illness or what has been. So like Philly's an absolute mess, and fortunately, they're one of the early games because the Detroit stuff is a mess because all their trades and they have questionables and all that stuff.
Plus, it also creates some value on the slate. Last night you kind of hemmed and hawed on the Springer play. If Maxey's out, Springer plugged into a lot of lineups. One would imagine there at his price point here. Let's just get into it. Appreciate you all tuning in. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button. Help us out. Throw your comments down in the chat. Coach Chris is popping in. Justin as well, along with the Prince, who here on time today. So I was in the chat hanging out. Saw him popping a little late, and Terrell was, he gets late sometimes there as well. So let's get to it. Point guard position here. Your top price point guard, Donovan Mitchell, $9,900 against the Wizards. Curry at $9,500. The now questionable Maxey at $94. Trae Young, $91. James Harden, $9K.
Yeah, I mean, if this Cleveland-Washington game stays competitive at all, Cleveland's going to win a lot of people money tonight. But it's just, who does Washington even play tonight? I mean, if you're Washington and all these trade rumors are true, does Tyus Jones and his expiring contract suit up or play big minutes? Does Kyle Kuzma suit up and play big minutes if you're trying to offload his contract? Like, it's pretty messy, but if that game can stay competitive, Donovan Mitchell obviously has an immense ceiling. He's been one of the league's best players over the last, I don't know, since the start of the year. So I love Donovan Mitchell. You could definitely get to Curry in tournaments. I don't love $9,500 as the price tag continues to rise, but we have seen some serious upside out of Curry. Obviously, 3 games in his last 5, he's gone for 60 plus fantasy points. I don't expect Maxey to play, so even if he does, like,
Pat Bev will be all over him all night. So
that's Tyrese Maxey will not be guarded by Patrick Beverley.
No, for Curry. Curry.
And then Trae Young 9,100. I think that's too low for tournaments. I know the spread is what it is, but now no Drew Holiday defense, so he'll get Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, mixes of those guys, but 9,100 for Trae Young's the tied for the second lowest price he's been all year, third lowest price he's been all year, and he's gone for 50 plus in basically 6 of 7 games. So I'm not totally sure why we're getting $9,100.
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, the matchup there, if he ends up drawing Pritchard at some point tonight, would be pretty elite. But, the Celtics now get a little bit bigger if they're projected starting lineup, which they've used when Holiday's been out in the past, ends up holding through there. Under 9K options, we still think De'Aaron Fox is far too cheap at $8,100, even in a spot against Detroit. We talk a lot about it. Yes, Sacramento can blow out teams, but they also give up big leads when they do jump out early, and it kind of sometimes forces Fox and these guys into some bigger minutes. Got a couple of questionables down here. Darius Garland. Manuel quickly was one of our favorite plays earlier today. Has anything changed for you when it comes to the mid-tier here?
I mean, De'Aaron Fox at 81 is definitely someone I'd highlight. Just if it's all about that game staying competitive, obviously. He's getting a lot of ownership, as are the rest of the Kings. Cade's really solid at 79 in tournaments. Garland, 28 minutes is really interesting because when you look at the popcorn machine, looks like he was going to play 30 plus if they don't blow that game out. Again, it's just an elite matchup for anything Cleveland. If you want to get to Garland, fine. Quickly, also elite in tournaments in this matchup against Charlotte.
Yeah. Again, Charlotte's been one of the best matchups all season long for opposing guards. We've seen them time and time again. Find a lot of success. Quickly's obviously had some up and down performances here. But if you're looking for a spot for him to kind of have a ceiling, would be maybe in this one here. McCollum 69 underneath him. Derek White at $6,500. I don't know your thoughts now on the Boston group without Drew Holiday, if there's any impact for you there. Podziemski 6K, Rozier 6K. Thoughts on the next mid-tier range for point guards?
Podziemski is obviously super solid. He's been super consistent since re-entering the starting lineup. 37, 34, 39, 38 minutes. Hard to discredit. 3 straight double-doubles, 2 with rebounds, 1 with assists. And we're not even getting like ceiling Podziemski shooting. I know he hasn't been great shooting, but 36% 3-point shooter this year, shooting 12% over his last 5 games. Hasn't made a 3 in 3 straight games. So Podziemski 6K, super solid. Derek White is fine. He gets the biggest usage bump with Drew Holiday off the floor, which obviously we like to see. 1.21 fantasy points per minute without Drew Holiday on the floor. So if you want to get to Derek White, I mean, it's a fantastic matchup for Boston.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Again, we know that he's liable to knock down some threes. High scoring game here. And, Boston, when they've had those bigger spreads lately, they haven't been all too great, especially at home. That Lakers game obviously comes to mind there a little bit. Under 6K plays, do you give any looks to Trey Jones or Dennis Schroeder? Pat Bev is down here. Ish Smith had played some minutes. You've been talking Josh Richardson a lot lately. Pritchard. Anybody for you as we go down the value tier?
I mean, Pat Bev would be, I assume, starts if one, Daniel House is out. Two, definitely if Tyrese Maxey is out. I would assume that would just be plug and play for Beverly. Malik Monk, 54. He's getting a ton of ownership. Richardson, I think it's fine. No Highsmith. You're going to see Caleb Martin start. And Richardson plays both guard positions. So they would all be interesting. I guess Peyton Pritchard as a punt is okay as well.
Sure. Yeah, definitely some interesting rostership here tonight. Again, obviously pricing, dictating some of the chalk there. But yeah, Caleb Martin right now, our highest projected roster play. Now this update came up prior to the Drew Holiday news, so maybe something's changed there. But a couple of cheapies that we'll touch upon as we move across. Going on over to shooting guard here, Jaylen Brown, 8K, Brandon Ingram, 79, Paul George, 77, and then DeJounte is in that 7K tier.
I like Jaylen in tournaments. I don't mind Ingram, especially if there's no Zion, obviously bump to all New Orleans.
Yeah.
PG is fine, 77. I like to see the 32 minutes on back-to-back. That's obviously
he's had the bigger
solid
games against the Pelicans as well. Kawhi is only averaging 19 actual game against them, under 40 fantasy points. George averaging 29 points per game in the 2 games against the Pelicans here.
If only the Pelicans had 3 Herb Joneses, they could they can guard anybody in the league. I would say I'm kind of with the field. RJ Barrett's getting a lot of ownership, and I understand it. I mean, he's been amazing since joining the Raptors. We did not see this type of upside. Obviously, even the 7 rebounds alongside Pirtle was good to see because they didn't have any rebounding help without Pirtle. And it's good to see Barrett can keep that consistency up. And I think 6,900 nice is just too cheap for him in this matchup.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a scoring prop tonight, 20.5 points. I looked at that. I felt like it was a pretty good spot for him, given his success as a member of the Raptors here. You touched on Devin Vassell this morning. Thoughts on him at 67, and anybody else in this 6K range that we haven't touched? Oubre, Ivy, anyone there for you?
Yeah, I think Vassell probably takes a backseat to Derek White now, given the Drew Holiday news and the matchup. Jaden Ivey would obviously be incredibly intriguing if Cade was ruled out, because they also traded they just traded Monty Morris, who's been operating as their backup point guard. So now less guard depth. We don't know. Alec Burks could be traded by 10 p.m. tonight. Killian Hayes could be traded by 10 p.m. They just might not have available bodies. So Ivy would be incredibly interesting if Cade was out. Oubre also is really interesting at 6,300. I just saw what Coach Chris talked about, Rozier. He looked really good yesterday. That was the first time they've been at full capacity. He's looked really good, which is interesting because Orlando's defense has been so good this year. I mean, 6K is too cheap for what he's been all year. It's just there's now 4 guys in Miami capable of giving you 20 on a nightly basis. Who is going to step aside on a night-to-night basis is really the question. It's a great spot for Miami. They get to stay at home for the 3rd straight game, even the second leg of a back-to-back. They didn't have to play the 4th quarter, really. So, I'd be okay getting to Rozier. I prefer Pajemski, but, nobody – I mean –
you 30 fantasy points for 5X. You've gotten that in 4 straight. Definitely, comfortable now with the secondary stats starting to come through.
Yes.
6 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 8 rebounds. He was always a pretty good rebounding guard when he was in Boston. Kind of falling off a little bit. The assists were really starting to show up. So if you're going to at least get this as a baseline rebound assist totals here, he wasn't the early shooter we saw, right? He's a little bit better of a scorer than he was when he first showed up in Miami. So definitely an interesting spot, but I agree with you. I mean, if Pajemski's going to play 38 minutes, I mean, doubles in 3 straight games. 2 of them would be a rebound, 1 of them be an assist. So, a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, Rozier's also the 3rd third highest roster shooting guard of the day. So
Yeah,
just being a little different.
Yep, don't mind getting there if you wanted to find yourself in that direction. A lot of these guys we've talked about below. Obviously, if DeJounte Murray gets ruled out, Bogdan becomes pretty interesting at $5,700. Boston losing Drew Holiday, it does weaken them defensively. I mean, that guard rotation, drops off big time defensively when you go down to Peyton Pritchard or Sam Hauser, getting more minutes there. Strus, Thompson, you talked Monk already. Kevin Horder's getting a lot of love tonight for ownership. Gary Trent, I'm always a Norm Powell guy. What are your thoughts on the 5K and under tier?
Yeah, Strus is shooting the ball better of late. I think that's been the thing that's really hurt him this year because that's what he was brought in to do. But coming off 6 made threes last game, 2 made threes or more in 3 straight. I'm interested to see how this Clay game turns out because he's one of the highest rostered projected players of the slate. $5,500 didn't close last game. So we'll see on Clay. I'm out. I'd rather play Kevin Huerter at 5K. Not in on Norm. Not really in on Burks unless there's more trades. I mean, I guess I could talk myself into playing some Alec Burks in tournaments, just given their potentially lack of depth with Bojan also on the injury report. But that is it. But Jaden Springer is 3,500. He would obviously be.
I talked about playing him last night anyways because you were getting the 21, 26 minutes. Last couple of games, blowout 80, but I mean, there was always that chance with Golden State there. But now, if there ends up being no Maxey and the rest of that depth, as you mentioned, he's probably locked into 25, 30 minutes here. Small forward, you got to be talking about a couple of guys here at small forward when it comes to like overall rostership here on the night. Caleb Martin is obviously one of them. He's $3,800. Oscar Thompson also coming in with a lot of high rostership. So a couple of value small forwards kind of topping the charts here today.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Caleb Martin. So I've come around on Caleb Martin. He's going to start. He started last night. No Haywood Highsmith, so that's just like paves the way for him. And looking at Popcorn Machine, he played 0 minutes in the fourth quarter last night and obviously blowout aided. But he closed the end of the first half, played the last 4 minutes, played the entire third quarter, and then just never came back in the game. I'm good with getting to Caleb Martin at 3,800. I think it's a pretty good price tag. So yeah, I don't really have any objections. Oscar Thompson, same way. He's a good fantasy point per minute guy. He just needs to get minutes, and he's been getting them 26 and 27 minutes the last 2 games. If there's no Bojan, he's going to play. I mean, they're going to basically play him until he fouls out because they just don't really have the other options. They have Stewart's out. They've traded away Kevin Knox. They've traded away Monty Morris. Like all 3 of those guys play in their rotation. And so I would definitely be interested in Oscar Thompson and Caleb Martin both in the same lineup if I needed value.
Gordon Hayward officially out tonight. Cody Martin back in for the Hornets here this evening. So those are the updates that just came through. Going back up to the top of the small forward tier, there's Jason Tatum here, $9,600. Kawhi, $89. Scotty Barnes at $8,700 gets this Charlotte matchup. Our guy Iggy had a bet today. He's got an under bet on Scotty Barnes here. I won't tell you what he's betting the under on, but we've talked a lot about the inconsistencies of Scotty Barnes, and Iggy's been hot with his picks, NBA bets of late. So gonna probably trust that maybe that one comes through here. Tobias Harris, if he's solo, do you play him against Golden State, or do you just worry, this game may get out of hand?
I would be okay playing him. I mean, he's been really good. Golden State hasn't been really good. Like even Stephen Curry scored 60 points in a game and they lost. So like, if Toby continues to play well, they have enough pieces. I mean, they were the number 2 seed in the East for basically the entire year while Joel Embiid was healthy. So, I'd be okay getting to Toby, if everyone else is out.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Where else are we looking when it comes to this small forward spot for you?
I like Jimmy Butler, 7,600 in tournaments. I like Brandon Miller, 7,200, especially with Gordon Hayward, and Jonathan Kuminga, obviously in tournaments, elite play.
Sure, I agree with you. Again, he's been so good. Miller's been so good. I like the point prop. I got my underdog article coming out in a moment here for everybody. You'll see Brandon Miller in that one. Value small forward for you, 6K and under.
Nothing that like necessarily stands out or / we haven't talked about. Asor Thompson and Caleb Martin would be the two guys.
Sure.
But there is something to keep your eye on. Eugene Omayuri, he's $3,500. He played 23 minutes in that Phoenix game. He is a fantasy point per minute freak. He had 41 fantasy points in 23 minutes. He operated as the team's backup center. Like, Cleveland is really good. They probably blow Washington out. They're probably going to play Eugene Omayuri extended minutes in this game, just given what their team is, given what's available in the trade deadline. I mean, if you look through this guy's, like, every time he has had double-figure minutes, he has scored a significant amount of fantasy points. So I wouldn't hate him in a large field tournament at all, 3,500.
Sure. Now,
like, it's obviously super risky, but $3,500, especially when guys in Golden State are floating around, like Lester Quininos was someone who was getting ownership this morning. Guy Santos, who, obviously if Draymond's out there, maybe there'd be more merit to playing them, but like those are guys that were getting ownership this morning. Omayuri is massive ceiling if he gets any type of run.
Yeah, I agree with you. Power forward position here. Again, a lot of guys we have discussed already. Tatum and Leonard, both elite plays. If you want to get there, no one's going to sit there and fight you on it. You got Wemby under 9K, though. We talked a little bit about that one. He's done nothing but give you 50 fantasy points, which would be 5X at 10K, and he's under 9K. So, I don't really foresee this matchup, preventing him from getting out and having another big day. It doesn't seem like there's many teams that match up enough to stop him. They just outscore the rest of San Antonio here to kind of put them away. But Wemby should still get his points. Bridges coming off of a monster game. He's $8,400. And then, you have Kuzma, Porzingis, Jalen Johnson, and Zion Williamson in the 7K range.
Yeah, Wemby's been at 50 fantasy points in all but one, or 48 fantasy points in all but one game since January 1st. So, that is what it is. They've been more competitive lately. Miles Bridges, this is a great spot. Toronto's been a top team in pace. They've been 29th in defense since they made the trade when they traded OG Anunoby. So second worst defense in the league since that point. Bridges coming off a career high 41 actual. Kuzma, if there's any chance that they keep this game close, Kyle Kuzma is obviously at the forefront of that. He's their best player. Porzingis, I'm good with. He's hasn't had to play a lot of minutes lately and still 37, 41, 45 fantasy points. Like, he's just so good on both ends of the floor that he doesn't.
What do you make of, since the last game they played was Memphis trading the only other relatively semi kind of sort of healthy body they have on their team? They dealt Xavier Tillman today to the Celtics for second round pick. So, all those G Leaguers that we thought maybe would be going away, I think they're hanging around with Tillman going to Boston there.
My first thought was the Boston didn't want Malcolm Brogdon in his bum knee, but they want Xavier Tillman in his bum knee.
Less minutes. They needed more for depth. I don't know. Nevis Quato was working out just fine.
So has Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett has been awesome.
Sure.
So I don't know. Tillman has rated out defensively quite well. So the rich always get richer around the trade deadline.
It's true. And many more moves still to be made there. If Zion's in $7,300, is that a play for you? Clippers obviously rank pretty well against front courts here.
It's a good price. We did see a ceiling the other day against the Spurs, but grain of salt, it was the Spurs. 20 fantasy points in 22 minutes against the Raptors. Yep. Pretty good. Just Brandon Ingram exploded. So,
A guy Anthony wants to know: did you play Tatum or Sabonis tonight?
It's a tough question. Sabonis missed out on a $1.3 million contract incentive by not making the All-Star game. Do you know that? Almost averaging a triple-double.
It's pretty wild.
Every time I'm going to go Tatum because I think that Atlanta has a better chance of staying competitive.
Sure.
But I'm not confident in that. Atlanta's like also the worst team against the spread in the NBA. They're the worst team against the spread on the road. They're also like one of the worst road teams in the NBA. So that's just me basing it off Trae Young just going nuclear tonight. So I'll say Tatum for slightly cheaper. I also have I really like a kind of value-ish center that I would play.
Sure. Coach Chris is saying he's playing Osor over Martin. Will not play Martin unless it kills him. And then Justin wants to know thoughts on Grady Dick here. Is that Gary Trent's got to be out probably for some run there?
I mean, Gary Trent's probable, so I expect him to play. He did play with the RJ Barrett absence. I think he's in the rotation no matter what. It's just we saw 10 minutes in a competitive game and then 24 and 30 in 2 games that were blowouts with guys out. So, I mean, I think there's no reason for Toronto not to play Grady Dick at this point. But I don't think he's gonna like stick until they make trades.
Did you see the report today that D'Angelo Russell and the Raptors were recently being linked as a possible trade destination? And my thought was, if you just traded Siakam and OG, why would you go acquire D'Angelo Russell?
I think I mean it could be. I don't know what I believe Russell's contract is. Next year is the last year.
What are you getting from the Raptors is my question, but conversation maybe for tomorrow if that deal goes down. Mobley, I believe it was Coach Chris in our chat the other day that said he'd give him a look at 28 minutes or 26 minutes. He ends up playing 28 and he has 11, 14, 7, 1 and 2 for another 46 fantasy point game. It is certainly an elite matchup for him. He is only $7,100, which is not he's certainly a cheap price for what his ceiling can be. We know what he can do in 25, 26 minutes. You're willing to play Mobley here tonight?
Yeah, I'm okay getting to any of the Cleveland starting 5 if you think the game's going to stay competitive. Because I think if that game does stay competitive, they're all under-owned. I mean, they're going to win some in a tournament if that game's competitive. I
saw your screenshot. And Coach Chris says he's going right back to him tonight. So I think he said what Donnie Mitch is the highest projected player, like 10% or something like that.
In that range? It's Jared Allen.
Jared Allen. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys under 6K here. Bay, Keldon. I guess I'll throw Draymond in there as well at 63. Gonku with the dual position eligibility. Obviously a tougher spot for him there. Keegan, 57. PJ Washington, DeAndre Hunter had a big night. Wiggins expected to return. Sohan's been pretty good. Al Horford's $5,100. Any interest there in that grouping?
Yeah, I mean, Horford had 32 minutes against Atlanta. You've talked about it. Boston has the easiest job. Joe Mazzulla has the easiest job in the world to when somebody's out because he has 6 starters that, at all times. So seems likely that we're just going to get a plug Al Horford in the starting lineup, 5,100, really good price tag. Obviously has ties to Atlanta. Really great matchup for Al Horford. That would be the guy of that list I would go to. Keegan Murray's getting some ownership, 5,700, but that's also because the Kings in general are all double-digit ownership right now. So I would actually get to Horford, barring he's starting of that tier.
Sure, Anthony, we're not really big on, or I don't know. I'm not totally big on Scotty Barnes tonight at the price tag. What are your thoughts here?
If I'm like ranking Toronto priorities, he's 4th.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to my first. Quickly Barrett and then Barnes.
Yeah, we'll talk about center here in a moment because I know that's where you're going with that one. Any other power forwards that we haven't discussed already? I don't think there's anybody we haven't talked about that we wouldn't play. So
I mean, I'm interested in the Kispert minutes lately. I know like again they're just trading everybody else, but 27, 31, 25 minutes. He's been shooting the ball pretty well other than the 0 for 7 from 3 last game. 20 fantasy points in 4 straight, including 6 for 14. And again, this change happens with a new coach. So it's could be coach related where they're just like, oh, well, Corey Kispert, I like him. I'm going to play him more. So that'd be the only other thing.
Jontay Porter officially doubtful. I know he wasn't the Raptors center you were thinking of. But this guy, Jakob Poeltl, was, I would imagine, was where you were going with this.
Yeah.
He is $5,900. Get Charlotte here.
Yeah, I really like the minutes for Poeltl in the first 2 games back. Toronto's a bad rebounding team. Poeltl's the only good rebounder they really have on a night-to-night basis. Like Barnes is fine, Barrett's fine, but they're just undersized in general. This is a smash spot against Nick Richards and PJ Washington and Bridges and whoever's in the Charlotte front court. 33 minutes in that OKC game, lost some time due to early foul trouble in that game. 28 minutes, 1 rebound shy of a double-double due to a blowout. 5,900, and he's not really getting that much like love. More, at least as I'd expect. Like on the other side of the game, Nick Richards is higher owned, and I think Poeltl for $400 more is an infinitely better play. I think there's a higher ceiling. He's a better shot blocker, 2 blocks in 3 straight games since returning. Jakob Poeltl's easily my favorite plug-and-play center of the night. Great. I mean, obviously, Charlotte's the worst defensive team in basketball, too. So, just cherry on top for Jakob Poeltl there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. A Jakob Poeltl, minus 140 in the over point line. They don't have a rebound or double line available for him. Probably because maybe the Porter news just kind of took him off the board. So I'm curious to see what that ends up popping for. If we do go up to the top here, Sabonis, Wemby, Bridges, we've talked about. Bam is at 8K. Jared Allen, 76. You mentioned if you think this game stays close, they're all going to go under rostered. Jalen Duran, 69. What's our center position looking like in your opinion here today?
I mean, if you believe in narratives, the Jared Allen All-Star Game snub narrative is I thought Jared Allen had a great case for how well he played. Sans Garland and Mobley. Jalen Duran for sure could be in play. I mean, Sabonis is really good offensively. He is not a good defender. So if Jalen Duran can stay out of foul trouble, big if, obviously. He's flashed 60 fantasy point upside. He hasn't been good since then, but there is serious upside with Jalen Duran. That's really it, though, in the 6K tier. Poeltl 59, Gafford 58 if he can stay out of some foul trouble or doesn't get traded. But I don't have much.
Do you care for Agunku here? Do you worry about the matchup for him?
He's good at basketball, so I'm okay with it. If you want to get to Agunku.
Yeah, just seeing where you're at. Anybody else? Gary Trent will play tonight, so we do get a little bit more Toronto news there. So we figured he was probable. $4,900. Is he a value guy you'd be willing to plug given the matchup tonight, or do you think we're going in other directions?
Not going to say no because he can make a lot of shots.
All right. Obviously shorter slate today, so we went through the positions quicker than usual here. So let's get a lineup build. Where do you want to start things tonight, James?
It is worth mentioning. There's obvious potential with teams like Philadelphia who have a lot of guys questionable. We could see extensions of someone like KJ Martin, Mo Bamba, guys like that tonight. Marcus Morris could actually be extended. He played 24 minutes last game, small forward, power forward. So be on the lookout for even though it's smaller news, just be on the lookout for the likes of Daniel House being ruled out and stuff like that. Where do I want to start? I don't know.
Caleb Martin, I guess, right? Because he's going to be in there.
Probably him and Osor.
Yeah, get some value off the rip. You liked Poeltl. I'm totally cool going Poeltl here at center. So that gives us some good amount of money to play with. What was your top overall spend here today? You like Trey? I think earlier today you said 91.
I mean, I'm considering a Boston Atlanta stack because I like the Trey price so much, and just you pray that game can stay close.
Sure. What do you think, White or Brown?
Yeah, White.
6,500 for 2 positions here. Threw Brandon Miller in the lineup. I like Brandon Miller. So
Jaden Springer at guard.
Yeah, Springer at guard. I think he plays no matter what, and then that gives us a whole lot of money. 9,600, almost a Tatum. Boom! Look at that. Got your little stack like we wanted. We got no money left over. Trae Young, Derek White, Caleb Martin, Oscar Thompson, Jakob Poeltl, Jaden Springer, Brandon Miller, Jason Tatum, giving y'all a quick look at an example lineup for tonight. Again, a little bit quicker show today, obviously, with the smaller slate, but that playbook is out. Get in the Discord for all of your lineup lock updates tonight, 7 p.m. We'll be back, obviously, tomorrow, NBA trade deadline day. I'll say it again. If you don't have your notifications turned on for any lineup news from now until tomorrow, obviously tomorrow before lock, but tonight especially, you could find yourself missing out on some plays if guys get benched and or traded. So have your ear to the ground. Get in that Discord. We have the NBA lineups channel. That's part of the free channels of our Discord. So you don't even need a member of Fantasy Alarm to see the NBA lineups channel. You can just join the Discord and just wait for the updates to come through that channel and get all the information you guys need there. We'll be back again tomorrow, getting you all ready for the slate. Until then, everybody, we'll talk to you later.